Warning, the following content may contain elements that are not suitable for some audiences. Accordingly, viewer discretion is advised. What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Edison Club podcast. I'm your host, Mike, joined tonight by two of my teammates, Enraged Peacock, aka Austin Deckard.
Yo, yo.
As well as Behind the Dual Disc podcast, aka Ty Payne.
What's good? What's good?
And tonight, we're joined by a special guest who is going to be filling us in on the untold story, or I guess things you didn't know about the story of G-Hopper85. Ladies and gentlemen, Philip Kampa.
He forgot to add a possible prospect for Edison Club in there.
Oh, yeah,
But
possible
other than
prospect.
That, if I ever do anything.
This is a great way to introduce you.
Yeah, dude, look, hey, shoot for the stars, aim for the moon, baby.
I mean, you almost topped that first Ultimate Time Wizard that Raleigh.
Yeah, 10th place, bro. That was like heartbreaking.
Oh, man,
Super
so close.
Heartbreaking.
So
Campa's
close.
good, like, for real.
Yeah.
I contribute a lot of my top to the Miracle Fusions that you gave me the day of the event, because I drew them a lot.
Yeah. That's because they're foreign, and foreigns be pringling. People cut your deck to those things easy. Don't deck check Peacock, please, Konami. Don't do it.
You can. It's all legal.
He's like, you can. It's fine. I live where they have blizzards, so my cards crinkle. It's cold.
He can't help it. It's an average crinkle. Okay, so during last week's Snow Day live stream, we had a little bit of a tournament on a Saturday, and I started to learn about this man, this G-Hopper85 person, who I knew nothing about in the beginning. I just want to start with that. I had never heard of this person.
I think he's more of a monster than a man, to be honest. Let's start off right there.
That's
Actual
a
monster. Literal monster. Yeah. And I got filled in on just a little bit, like tip of the iceberg kind of thing. So who wants to start off with the beginning of what happened and who this person was and everything?
I have the general information, like stat stuff of like where the channel started, different things like that. And then Kampa can kind of, I guess, come in with the stuff that I don't know, because I don't actually know the person. Kampa actually knows this person.
Okay.
I just have some stats that I was able to pull from the internet.
Take it away, Enraged.
So first off, I do want to give a shout out to Mega Capital G. A lot of these stuff came from the video that he's done a couple videos on it. So I definitely want to give credit to him, shout out to him. He's a goat. So the G-Hopper85 was one of the biggest like old school Yu-Gi-Oh like YouTubers. If you guys remember back in the day, like Pause Joker, Waffles, Ace and Persuasion 2008, Dub K Dad 1. It's like kind of this era. His account was created New Year's Eve of 2006. He amassed following relatively quickly for having a bunch of like really high-end like sought-after cards, like prize cards and stuff. And he was one of the big people that was doing back in the day where you would buy and sell and trade like over YouTube. And like most people in that area during the 5Ds era, his channel like actually grew to like him being a sizable person like in the community. And he had a bunch of series that was like a deck doctor style thing where it's called G-Hopping on your deck, where the viewers would submit deck lists and he'd try to improve them with his own flair style. He had a series called Think Like an Asian Slur, which was eventually renamed to What's Hoppin' in the OCG. Basically, just to look at the OCG metagame. But then his final series was called G-Hopper's Most Wanted, where it was a series exposing online trade scammers and trying to get the Yu-Gi-Oh community like rid of them, because he was one of the biggest like YouTube channels, and most of his income was done through like YouTube trades, and this would allow his audience to feel comfortable knowing that if you're in his audience, then he'd be protecting you from scammers. And he was also one of the first Yugi-Tubers to do like free and random giveaways, a practice that's still like done today in the Yu-Gi-Oh sphere. And everyone saw him as like an honest person who wanted to give back to the community. And then he had the G-Hopper 7 Minutes of Fame. He would allow small content creators like a 7-minute video on his channel to help grow those channels. And that led into his Pinch Hopper, where he would actually like put that in the description box to help like grow their audience. And he always played like rogue off-meta strategies, resonated really well with like the casual audience of the time. And that he had access to all the expensive high-end cards, but always played like casual, random off-meta stuff, which really like grew the channel to get to where it was, and a lot of people started out liking him a lot. And then Kampa, you can kind of fill in the gaps.
Yeah, so as far as the G Hopper's Most Wanted, if we knew then what we knew now, he would have been on his own episode of his own segment on his own channel. Because in the early days of like Yugi-Tube and just everything, like I remember when I moved back after Katrina to Louisiana, I would go to this locals, and it was like a 40-person local in like 2007 and 2006, 2007 in Slidell, Louisiana, which is like an hour outside of New Orleans. It was so big, and all the best players in the state were there for the most part. So people would drive like 30, 45 minutes to go play at this local. And that's where I initially had met Adam. And just not like hit it off, but I was just kind of, I was a younger kid, didn't really know what I was doing. I had some of the local players like, helping me up, and all of them would kind of tell me like, yo, like this dude's kind of, we don't really care for him too much. Like they would talk to him because he always had like all the cards to trade. And if they were missing anything, they could just get it from him. And it was definitely weird. But as I started hanging around him more, I started getting like just, increasingly better at the game. He was really, really good with like, being able to like lock down like a meta and be like, okay, this is, what everybody's doing. So nobody's going to expect this, and we can do this. And it never really paid off like crazy good, like to where he like won like a Shonen Jump or anything. But he did, I think, get top 16 at Shonen Jump. Yeah. Shonen Jump Houston 2009, what many people call the forgotten Shonen Jump.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there was just like no coverage. There was this dude, like I think it was like Psychotic Porcupine. Yeah,
I remember.
Yeah, right. I wonder who else named.
But I do like his naming strategy, but no correlation. But
who else?
Bizarre adjective and bizarre animal.
But and I remember that event fairly vividly, and I remember Adam getting top, and I also remember him. I believe it was at this same one because him and Jerry, I think Jerry Wang actually won the event. And then afterwards,
my buddy at Locals actually had a feature match. The round 2 feature match was my buddy Corey Miller from Local. He lost to Jerry Wang in the second round of the Swiss, and they were both playing Teledad. We're like, whoa, someone from our is finally on. We found no one in our area has ever gotten a feature match, so we're like so excited. But then it was like, oh, this is also the one time where there was never actually a Konami feature match. So we're like, dang.
And like Jerry's deck, not to get like fully off topic, but it's still Yu-Gi-Oh! Jerry's deck was crazy from that event. He was maining double oppression, which was common for like the oppression dad. He was playing like 1 Krebens and 2 teleport. Like just he wasn't trying to like fast track the game to just go like Stardust, Colossal, Dark Armed, you're dead. Like he was actually like sitting there grinding people out from resources and then just being like, oh yeah, by the way, here's a Stardust and a Dark Arm. Can you deal with it? No, okay, you're dead next turn. Like, but at that event, Jerry and Adam were playing for cards after, and this story, and granted, like I was 2000, this is 2009, so I was like 16. I was making 16 that year, so I was 15 at this event, and I remember them playing for cards because I went with other friends. But I walked past and I was just kind of sitting there. Somebody told me that after I had left, Jerry Wang's girlfriend at the time, I don't know if they're still together or what, came up to them like, oh, you've been playing cards all weekend, you're still playing, like blah 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 blah. And she's like, am I not important to you? And he's like, right now, this is important to me. He's like, do you want to go shopping? And he just takes a couple like $100 bills out of his pocket and like tosses them to her. And he's like, go shopping. And I'm like, bro, I had never met Jerry before that event. I still don't know him as well as I'd like to, but like, Jesus, dude, if that didn't like just put him GOAT status in my head, like,
oh my God.
Quick little side tangent with Jerry Wang. I've only met him once. It was at Gen Con India of 09 during cat format. And I was playing Charles Easton, the current, like at the time, the current Canadian national champion who played Rescue Cat, the cat synchro, but he didn't have the Monster Reborn in his deck list. Well, I was sitting right next to Jerry Wang, and he just monk double spells, just 2 O's as a guy super quick. And he was just sitting there watching me and Charles play because I mentioned that was like my first YCS. And I was playing Gladiator Beast. Well, he sided in Skill Drain, and then I sided in Barbaros, but I also went Geysaris, Chain Icarus Attack, and I wiped 4 of his cards whenever he chained the Skill Drain to the I went, okay, contact for Geysaris. He goes, okay, Skill Drain. I'm like, okay, cool, Chain Link 2, I'm gonna activate Icarus Attack. I blew away his whole back row and beat him that turn. And Jerry Wang was like, what did you just do? He's like, that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. So to this day, one of my biggest compliments I've ever received was Jerry Wang saw me make a really cool play against the guy who won 2009 Canadian Nationals.
Austin was just instantly bricked up at that moment.
Wouldn't you be? Wouldn't you be?
Says he still
I
is.
would.
If there was a Mount Rushmore of the old Yugi-Tube gods, Yu-Gi-Oh gods, he would be in contention. And for him to be like, that was incredible. I'm like, I'm 16, and this is my first ever event.
That's not where I thought you were going with Mount Rushmore. I thought you were going to be like, I was harder than Mount Rushmore, and that shit.
Oh my god!
No, we're getting to that part here in a little bit.
Oh god. So yeah, just kind of over the years, I would always kind of be around him, and I went to a few events here and there. It started off just like regionals in like 2006, 2007, stuff like that. And like I said, everybody, like, it's not like I just like overlooked, because like nobody really knew any of the stuff that he was, doing, because he kept it very, very well. I don't even know if he was trying to hide it. He just had everything compartmentalized very well. He had the Yu-Gi-Oh people in his life that didn't really know much about him personally, even though like we would be at his apartment playing before a regional, like play testing for hours, and then we'd sleep there. Everybody would get in their cars and leave. The first,
most people like that. I don't think they go, "Hey man, are you into like cyberstalking?" Like that's not
a
conversation you bring up with a group of people.
It depends on what message boards you were on in the day, I guess. But the first bad interaction, and the one that sticks out the most prominently that I had with him, when he got arrested, my mom like called me when she heard, and she was like, he didn't like do anything with you, right? And I'm like, oh God, no, like I would have let you know. I'm like, I was not a victim the way these other victims were victims, but I was a victim in other senses, mainly cardboard related. So he always used to do this thing, and he was doing it back when we had like a game trader down here. It's kind of like the OG-ish, like GameStop, EB Games, stuff like that. And they would have like, cards. They would do a tournament at the one in the mall, same mall here that's now closed, that they had the Yu-Gi-Oh mall tour at years ago. And he would just be like, goofing with people. He'd be like, "Oh, I really want this card," and they're like, "Oh, I like this card out of your binder, but I don't really, I don't really, have enough to value to get up there." And he's like, "Okay, well, how about this? Wager your card against mine." And he would just pull out like a random like bulk hollow from his bag, and he would be like, "If you can rip this card clean in half, I'll give you the card that you want. But if you can't, you have 30 seconds to do it. If you can't, then you have to give me the card that I wanted." And people would be like, "Oh, I can rip a card easy." Old foil, I don't know how they are now, because I haven't really bought many of the last like modern sets, but old foil cards could not rip in half.
No, it's just like stretched.
Yeah, that was all it did. So, and even then they still didn't rip. So he would just get people with this all the time. And I didn't see it happen much at all until it happened to me, because I was, like I said, I was that younger kid at the locals. I had recognized him from when I played in Slidell, and this is closer to where I'm at now. It's actually the old location of a shop that I used to be sponsored by. That was like the shop that we all like grew up playing at. And I pulled a magical stone excavation from my tournament pack, the champion pack. Yeah. And he was like, "Oh, hey, I really want that." And I'm like, "Oh, I think I'm going to keep it, blah, blah, blah. I really like, the Diamond Dude Turbo-esque decks, like when that was like, a thing." And I'm like, even then, like, I kind of want to keep it. So he kind of like pushed the envelope hard. And like at a certain point, he wouldn't take no for an answer. So me as a younger kid, I've like processed all of this now, but like I should have just been like, "Nah, bro, fuck off," But I got pressured into betting his magical stone excavation against mine that I couldn't rip a foil card in half. And I tried. It obviously didn't happen. And this was like the next day, not that like saying, because he was just like, because we had a Saturday local and a Sunday local. I got it at the Saturday local, and then the next day he was just like, "Hey, I still want it. And then that's when it all happened. I had it at my house though, and he's like, "Okay, well, just when we go to regionals next week, bring it with you." I'm like, "Okay, cool." I was riding with him 3 hours away to a regional that was coming up, and I go to regionals. I forgot to grab it out of my binder. I have like, my fucking deck for the regional, my play mat. I didn't have a trade binder because I was a poor little kid. And I think I had like my Nintendo DS and a few other things. So we go to the regional, and I told him, I was like, "Hey, I forgot it, but I'll bring it to you at locals tomorrow." And he's like, "Okay, that's fine." And I don't know like what he like, what pushed it to the point to where he like felt like he had to get something like right then, because I was going to bring it to him the next day, or maybe he was afraid that I was going to like tell my mom or something. But on the way home from regionals, we stopped to get gas, and he's like, "Hey, so Philip, I know you said you're bringing the card tomorrow, but I'm going to need something as collateral in case you don't. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And we went like back and forth. This is let me see. He was born, it's literally G Hopper 85. That was when he was born. So he was, he was like 22, 23. I'm 15, 16, maybe a little younger, maybe closer to 14. This is like 2007. Yeah. So I was 14. And he's like back and forth arguing with me about like me giving him collateral for something he won in a very one-sided bet against me. And everybody else is just kind of being quiet in the car. Like there's 3 other people with us. And I eventually end up giving him my Nintendo DS as collateral. I was like, here, I'll bring it to you tomorrow. And then at that point, I was like, I care about my Nintendo DS more than a fucking card. Like I want to play Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship on DS online. So brought him the card the next day. And then I felt
where your DS went.
No, I came home, I got the card, I went to locals the next day, I got it, and then I had it back. It was done in less than like 24 hours. You know, it was easy.
Yeah, no,
but...
I was saying, but you also didn't want to explain to your
Yeah, I thought you said, you explained
Nintendo DS.
Yeah, I'm like, it's gone. This fucking rapist took it.
That
Yeah.
But alleged. Well, no, I mean, what did you say? If it's convicted, it's not alleged.
Yeah, if it's convicted, it's not alleged.
Yeah, it's not alleged anymore. It's convicted.
So that was the first like real time that he like, you know, I felt like he just didn't have my best. Like that was when I saw kind of who he really was. And I was like, well, I even wondered. So I started asking people about him, and I was like, oh, have you ever had any kind of issues with him? And people told me mixed things. Some people had, no issues with it. Other people, totally different story. Dude was honestly like, how like, you'll get hired for a sales job because you're just a good salesman. You can sell condoms to a nun. You can sell water to a whale. Like that's how this dude was with trading. I have never seen him like anybody else at like compare to him as far as like convincing people to just do these like wacky lopsided trades where like he would just be like, oh yeah.
Like he'll talk you into a bad deal, and then he'll be like, he'll make it think it's your idea.
I mean, yeah, but that's a good salesman, bro. Like if Adam would have sold cars instead of delivered pizzas, maybe he wouldn't have had to stalk women. Like maybe, I don't know. Some personality traits aside, but yeah, dude. So like over the years, like, I just kind of like, see more stuff. But at the end of the day, I was like, bro, if I'm just around him for Yu-Gi-Oh! And I kind of have my guard up, we're gonna be fine. I know a few other local players who would like, he would claim that somebody stole his card. He would be because he had so many cards, bro. Y'all are familiar with like the Bandai cards, right? Like the OG Yu-Gi-Oh! He had Bandai Mirror Forces, stuff like that. He had a Shonen Jump Crush card, a Shonen Jump Cyberstein. One of them he ended up getting signed by Dan Green. I can't remember which one it was. I think at one point he had a Crush card. Like he just had so much. I think it was a few weeks before he had gotten arrested. It was either a few weeks or it was like a year before. We were at his apartment. I think it was like a year or two because we were on our way to Austin for a YCS, SJC, whichever one it was. And he had 2 deck boxes on his kitchen counter, and they were packed to the brim with like Super Book of Moons. Like, and it was
God.
Like, I'm like, bro, those are like a bill of and he's like, yeah, that's all from YouTube trading. And I'm like, bro, what the hell? Like, teach me how to do this, like, so like, some of the, like trading things and just how to talk to people, I kind of like, cherry picked from him over the years, but like, dude could talk his way into and out of a whole lot. Obviously couldn't talk his way out of this one, but, yeah.
That's also one of the things that led to like his channel getting big was people like he would do these giveaways and do stuff, and people would be like they want to be on the series or whatever I can't remember the name of it already, even though I just went over it. But the 7 Minutes of Fame, he would want to be on that, so they would like send him stuff, like, oh, this card is worth all this much, but I pulled it out of a pack, so I'll just give it to him, and then I can convert that into like my channel blowing up, which never happened. So I think that was one of the starting things, to kind of, you said, amass like the crazy collection where people just, would flock to him, and they would intentionally rip themselves off because they're like they want to be able to trade with him, basically, almost. Yeah,
I don't think like anybody who was ever featured on his channel ever got like any like crazy amount of big that I can recall. I know he would like promote a few people like locally. Like he would have me on there whenever, but the only time that I remember actually being on his channel was when we got left in Chicago, which I kind of mentioned when I was on the Snow Day stream the other day. But that event was absolutely ridiculous. So summer of 2010. YCS Chicago is coming up. This is post Edison. Shining Darkness is going to be legal. It's going to be nuts. Frog FTK wasn't really like everywhere. Like everybody was just kind of like shitting their pants over like X Sabers and Infernities.
And Infernity, yep.
And I ended up getting like some of the Infernity cards. I borrowed the rest. I was super confident going into YCS Chicago. So I had already agreed to go with Adam. And then there was 2 other people from our local area. I'm going to not name names. And then there was 3 other people that were going to be in the car. So there was 7 of us in this truck. The guy whose truck it was, one of his friends, and then another player that I like kind of grew up around. And then myself, Adam, and the 2 others that I was more familiar with. And we drive up, 15-hour drive from Louisiana to Chicago, just about, in this truck. And get in the hotel. We're all fine. All 7 of us in the same hotel room because it's like, fuck it. That's what we used to do back in the day. Like, we're not paying for an extra hotel room. We're broke. So Saturday comes. I'm feeling like, super good. I start, I think, like 2-0, and then I lose 1, and I'm feeling kind of bad. And then I played against, I can't remember who it was, but it was one of the guys from Card Masters. So like Bolito era team, I want to say, I don't think it was Irvin, so I think it was his brother, and we played an Infernity Mirror, if I remember right, and I won. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, I feel like on top of the world right now. Long story short, by the end of round 9, I'd probably dropped like 2 rounds prior. I was cashed out. I got hit. One of our friends did fairly well, and he was going to go back for day 2. So we do whatever Saturday night, and I can't remember everything, and I tried to like block a lot of this part of my life out, but there was a whole bunch of stuff going on, like kind of like drama in the hotel room between me and one of the guys that had come up that I was like familiar with. Me and him used to be friends. I see him nowadays, and like, it's all fine because we realized we were kids, but he was upset with me because he told me that he could that I could borrow one of his cards. It was a crush card like a year before. He was like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to play, so you can borrow it, for nationals. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I borrowed his crush card for 2009 nationals when it was still like gold series, crazy price. And then he didn't come to locals. And then I couldn't go to locals for the 2 weeks that he went to locals. And by the time I gave it back to him, like 4 days later, it got banned. And he was just so upset about that. So Adam was kind of like stirring the pot with that. And like me and this kid almost got in a fight in Chicago. Like he took my backpack that had like my binders and everything in it and went and like held it above the toilet. Like he was going to start throwing cards in the toilet. I jumped in there. He tried to jump because we were messing with him when he was in the bathroom. We put like chairs and stuff in there. He was like super mad. Somebody else was like drawing Sharpie on his face. And it was just like teenagers being teenagers. And he took it like really the wrong way. So if you're listening, unnamed person, I apologize if you've never actually heard me apologize for it, for whatever part in that I did play. But it wasn't really the easiest when you had somebody just kind of poking the bear for their own entertainment. We almost got in a fight twice that weekend, me and that guy. But Sunday rolls around. Our friend ends up playing. And after the last round of Swiss, we get a call from Adam. And he's like, hey, we need to get to the hotel room. So we go to the hotel room. I don't know at the time, like what happened. We get there. The other 3 guys are gone. The guy who had the truck, his friend, and the other player that I grew up around, they just left. So we're like, what the fuck?
Oh my God. Yeah, you guys just stuck there.
And so we're trying to figure out what happened. And Adam's like, I can't remember what he told us at the time, but it wasn't what actually happened because I ended up talking to the driver years later and found out. So all I know is the people who brought us there fucking ditched us. And I'm livid, and I'm also worried. I called my mom. I let her know what's going on. I'm like, hey, I'm going to try to figure it out, let you know. My friend gets a call. He's like, one of his friends that was out there, he's like, hey, you topped. And he's like, what? And he's like, yeah, you got 32nd place. And it's like, oh shit. So my friend has asthma, like real bad asthma. So if you've ever been to the, I think it's Rosemont, Convention Center, we were at the DoubleTree that was connected, or the Hilton, whatever it was that was connected. So my friend runs through the hotel, runs across the little tram thing, like or whatever it is, like the connector, and then runs to the event. Gets there in time. He's like almost having an asthma attack because he don't run like that, you know, like me, like somebody got to be shooting for me to run, and I feel that, you know. But like, so he gets there, he drinks some, no shit, and Chirac, like, he takes some water and he ends up losing in top 32, and then we're like, okay, well, we got to figure out how we're gonna get home because none of us really has a lot of money. So we start selling cards. Adam sells some cards out of his trade binder. Me and my friend who topped sold some cards out of our trade binder. And then the fourth guy, he didn't really do too much. I think he sold like 2 or 3 cards. But like that was another thing that kind of rubbed me wrong, you know. And like I said, looking back on it, I didn't really know. But like I feel I probably wouldn't have felt that way if I would have known, like, you know, what was being said to him and then what was being said to me. And yeah. So we ended up getting enough money. I think it was Adam's like sister or cousin lived up somewhere that way. So her and her daughter, I think, come and pick us up, and we spend the night at their house. And then she drops us off at the Greyhound station the next day because we bought Greyhound bus tickets to get home. And because that was the cheapest, most affordable, consistent thing. We are on a bus for 23 hours.
Oh my, I've been there. I've been there.
Yep. And we finally get home. And I'm like, yo, what the fuck? And so Adam goes to unlock his apartment, and he's like, where are my keys? Doesn't have his keys. We thought he left his keys in Chicago. So years later, I found out from the driver. Oh, also, when we got back, Adam was like, I'm going to blast him on YouTube. I have so many followers and subscribers. Like, everybody's going to know what this motherfucker did to us, blah, blah, blah. He like kind of gaslights me because I didn't want to. He kind of gaslights me and my friend into making a video talking about what happened. And he like had like talking points written out and just like stuff to say and stuff like that. And we were just kind of like reading the script for lack of a better term. But then, yeah, years later, I found out that he talked to the driver about some discrepancy with like what we were being charged for gas, like thinking that the guy was trying to like get over on us. And the guy was like, no. And he like pulled up receipts. He's like, this is how much it cost to get here. He's like, I already had a full tank of gas, which I, you know, accounted for in that price. He's like, so maybe that's where the price differential is coming from. And Adam was like, no, you're going to have to give me some cards or something to make up if you want me to pay this. He's like, the other people can do whatever. So they got in this whole big thing. I think it was like Saturday night. And then that's when the other 3 decided like, hey, I'm going to leave, or 2 of them decided they were going to leave. And then the third guy apparently found out that like his daughter like fell in her room and like hit her head on the dresser and had to go to the ER. So he had to get home, and they were all in the hotel because they slept in. All 4 of us went to the event. So I guess they started like, you know, getting their stuff together. And he's like, you know, oh, if y'all are leaving, I'm leaving with you. So I get his part. But on the way out, they took Adam's keys. And they the guy who said that his daughter was hurt, which I still don't know if that's a you know, a lie or not, but at this point, like, you know, whatever. He said, yeah, every time we stopped to get food or stopped to pee, or like sometimes we were just driving, I would take a key off his key ring and just like throw it in a trash can or throw it out the window or like flush it down the toilet.
Oh my god! And I'm like, that's so petty. Oh my god!
It is, bro. Yeah, that's what the P in P Diddy stands for. Petty Diddy. Like. So all of that happened, right? And I didn't find out the conversation between him and the driver till years later. I didn't find out the key thing years later. And when I found out about the keys, I was like, oh, that's fucked up. And then I thought about it when I saw that he got arrested, and I laughed and laughed and laughed. I'm twisted. I don't know why. So, you know how they say
Kampa be sharing the wildest shit on Facebook I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, bro. What was the one today?
Beef jerkies, dude.
Yeah, bro. They should call hand jobs beef jerkies. Bro, Ty be commented. Ty's like, I just opened this app, and I'm like, close it, open that motherfucker again. There's more.
Bro, literally every time I open Facebook, it's every time, not just every other time. It's every time I open Facebook. Kampa's got some nonsense posted. I'm just like, I just opened this app, dog.
Let me see what else. Oh, look, here's one from an hour ago. Whoever called it blue balls and not a cummy ache sure missed an opportunity there. What else we got? What else we got? We got some goofy.
I like whenever like we'll send shit back and forth to each other, or like we'll be like, oh, I was gonna tag you in that, but like it's basically a race to see who can find it first, because you're always on the night shift, I'm always on the day shift, so he sees all the bangers at night and I see all the bangers at day. So whenever I wake up, I got like 4 or 5 different things, and then whenever he wakes up, he's got 4 or 5 different things. Like it's
this one was great. Any room could be a panic room if you just give me a fucking second. And not all demons have horns. Some have big titties.
Oh my God.
You're just my type. Okay, pull up your Pornhub history then.
Oh my God.
All day, bro. I am a card sales / meme page for the people, by the people, with the people. So the definition of insanity is doing the same thing a bunch of times and expecting a different outcome, right? So after the Chicago trip, I'm like, oh, Nationals is coming up in Minneapolis. I need to find a way to get there. I need to find out where I'm staying. All the Louisiana people, for the most part, are going to be in the same, same hotel, same rooms. So I hit them up and they're like, oh yeah, and of course it was Adam kind of leading everything. And I'm like, let me just give it another shot, even though it didn't work out because I didn't know that he was the one that got us left there. And we end up getting, and he's like, okay, yeah. He's like, if you get a flight, he's like, you can room with us. I'll let you know how much the hotel costs. And I was like, well, didn't you already tell everybody a price? And don't you have a number because the room's booked? And he's like, well, yeah, I got to get with them and make sure they're okay with you staying there, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, everybody knows me, but that's weird. So it comes time, I fly out Friday morning, and Thursday night, I still haven't gotten a number from him. So what happened, I found out after the fact, was when they were driving up, him and 2 other people in the car were trying to do what he had accused the driver from Chicago doing. They were trying to fudge the numbers around to make it to where I paid for a little bit of everyone, a little bit of each of their hotel stay. So they were going to be like, oh yeah, we're getting 80 from this guy for the weekend, 80 from this guy for the weekend. So if we tell him 120, that'll cover, it's and he's just going to sleep on the floor. That's going to cover our 60 and 60 because we told these other people 80 when it was really 60. And it was just a whole bunch of crap. And, the sad part was one of the guys that was in there doing that, I kind of considered him a good friend. And that all went to shit on this trip as well. So I finally get in $40 for a cab from the airport to the convention center. I meet up with everybody. We go back to the hotel. The other guy, I'm going to leave his name out too. He's a year older than me, a good 1.5 feet taller than me. And he played football and stuff in high school. So he's kind of jacked, teenager jacked, to where bro, if anybody under 23 fights, I'm pretty sure I got money on you. And we're in the bathroom is separated from the rest of the hotel. So he's using the bathroom and I'm brushing my teeth and stuff. And we come back into the hotel room and everybody's just gone. And I texted them. I think I actually texted T-Bert, T-Bert325. If you remember old Yu-Gi-Oh YouTubers, who he was also a friend of Adam's.
And the account after he got locked up and shit too.
I do believe that I think YouTube deleted the account or Google deleted the account because I know T-Bert uploaded one video.
All the social media is after that too, not just the YouTube, everything was he was kind of the cleanup guy basically.
Oh,
so
wow. He was keeping people informed after
on what he was doing.
Yeah, what he was doing and after the shit hit the fan and whatnot.
Yeah. So, and I can only speak on so much that I know about, but we'll circle back to T-Bert in a moment. But so we come out and I text T-Bert and he's like, "Oh, we went to eat. Y'all do whatever. We'll be back. To play test." So I'm like, "Bro, I'm 16. So, or let me see, 2010. Yeah, I had just made 16 or 17." I believe. And the other guy was a year off from me. So I'm like, bro, we're in a city we've never been in. Let's go walk around. Let's go do stuff, And he's like, hell yeah, bro. So we end up walking all around downtown Minneapolis. We catch the little train thing. What is it called? The monorail or whatever, the light rail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Go to the Mall of America.
Yeah, that was the first Nationals I ever went to. And oh my gosh, that Nationals was so fun.
Yeah. Even
though Minneapolis as a place was a lot of fun.
Even though people were destroying the walls between the elevators because they got cheated or sacked or whatever.
Oh yeah, that was the infamous. He stacked launchers and started punching the walls and got arrested too. But that's not even related to this.
Somebody told me he hit the wall twice. He hit one wall, turned around, punched the other wall, and then he passed out. I wasn't.
He headbutted it and turned around. Yeah, he headbutted it, turned around and punched it, saying he stacked launchers.
Oh Lord. But so we go to the Mall of America, right? And we meet up with some of my friends. I say the friends loosely, that were from Alabama. Again, not going to name names, but one of them owns one of the largest shops on the Gulf Coast in Alabama now. And hanging out with them, and they're like, oh, hey, you can come back to our room and we can like theory and play test and stuff. So like, okay, cool. They were staying right by the convention center. So we all get back in the light rail, go back, walk to their hotel, and we're chilling. It's like 11:15 at night. Me and the guy I'm with aren't really thinking we're not caring, bro. Our parents know we're fine. We have cell phones. We're going to be good. I get a call from Adam at like 11:20, 11:30. And he's like, where the fuck are y'all? And I'm like, we're hanging out with, this guy. And he's like, y'all have until midnight to get back to the hotel room or both of y'all are kicked out. And we're like, yo, where the hell is this coming from? Because we hadn't heard from him like since we were at the hotel like 8 hours prior. And he's like, yeah. Yeah. He's like, yeah, I already talked to his mom and I'm calling your mom right now. And then he hangs up and I'm like, what the fuck? So I tell Tyler, I go to tell Tyler, sorry, I named him. It's whatever. His name was Tyler. I go to tell Tyler and Tyler's like looking at his phone. He's like, my mom's calling me. What do I do? And I'm like, just talk to her, I guess. So he's on the phone with his mom. I'm on the phone with my mom and we're getting a cab back. I was like, we're going to handle it. And so I text Adam and I'm like, okay, me and Tyler are back on the way, just chill out. So we get there, they're all in the hotel. And apparently Tyler's mom had called Adam back and said, I don't want my son anywhere around that Philip kid. I don't know what he had told her. My mom was very understanding. She's like, yeah, like she's like, this is what I was told. And I'm like, well, that's not true. That's not true. This is true. So he was basically like, yeah, he's like, it's one of y'all too. So I called the people that I was just with and I was like, hey, this happened. Can I stay with y'all? And they're like, absolutely, no problem, come through. So I paid for the cab from the airport to the event for me. Then I paid for the cab from our friend's hotel back to our original hotel. And then I had to pay for another cab and lug all of my shit back to the other side of Minneapolis and go room with these people. It's like 4:30 in the morning before I fall asleep on these people's hotel room floor. And we wake up at 7:30, 8 a.m. to go and play in the event. I do dog shit. I'm like 1-3 drop. I'm still in touch with one of the guys who 2-0'd the absolute crap out of me. Shout out to the homie Ricky Ricketts. I think he topped one of the like West Coast Time Wizard Edison events, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, known that dude for like 15 years. He's solid. Still friends on Facebook, going strong. And then Saturday night, back at the hotel, everybody's just, doing whatever. And one of the guys is like, hey, I got one of the guys that lives like an hour away from us back home. He's coming to buy this laptop off me so I can buy like this Spellground and these other cards off of somebody else. And the guy comes in and I think it's like 4 other people plus myself in this hotel room. And the other guy brings like 2 people with him. So they're sitting there and they're talking about the laptop and stuff. Yeah. So, yeah, bro, Shockmaster. Like, so we're sitting there and, they're just talking. We're like, playing bullshit and whatever. And then I look up and I don't know what made me look at this one certain guy that was with us in the room. And his face is just like white. His eyes are like wide as fuck. And he's like, kind of like like gape mouth, like just like mouth kind of open, just like, and then he kind of like shakes back. And I look at him and I'm like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm good. He's like, I just didn't get enough sleep last night. So like 10 minutes later, the dudes leave. They didn't buy the laptop. They just leave. Your boy, who was staring, like looking like he just saw a ghost, slams the like top lock and everything shut. And he's like, that motherfucker had a taser on him. We have to change rooms because they're going to come back and rob us. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, bro, like he called his like girlfriend on the phone. And like, I didn't realize, I thought after he got off the phone, he like left her a voicemail. After he got off the phone, I thought he was just like flipping his phone around in his hand. Like how people like roll their phones between their fingers and stuff. I thought he was doing that. Yeah. Motherfucker was like popping a taser on and off, like hitting like, I don't know if it was like a charge. I didn't hear a click or anything, but he was just like boop, 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 and like fucking with it. And I'm like, what the hell, dude? So he's like, yeah, we got to change rooms. So they're all freaked out because apparently they know this dude, and apparently he's like, you know, kicked in people's doors before and just like taking stuff. And he's like, bro, like he could have done it right then. All he would have needed to do is just hit 2-3 of us, you know, with it. They have 2-3 people there. They could just left with all of our stuff. So after that like hour-long fiasco, we're in a new room, or we have a new room. We go back to the old room to get our stuff. And I'm packing up all of my stuff, and I'm like, hey, has anybody seen my black and gold Ultra Pro satin box? And they're looking around. They're like, no. They're like, here. And they all take their bags and they dump them out on the beds. They're like, I promise you we don't have it. And they didn't. We checked all over the room, all that. The guy who had the taser took my deck box, and it had a Blackwing deck and a Quick Draw deck. I had Icarus, DR4 Icarus attacks. I had Jump Dandelions. I had so much stuff. I had these like cool like Crimson Crisis Boras that I got from the pre-release that had like an ink smear to where it looked like Bora had an extra wing. And I've never seen those again. And I was very sad. So I was just like, man, I got stolen from my first hotel room. I literally got stolen in the second hotel room. I was like, how can this get any worse? Luckily, my plane didn't fucking crash on the ride home. But yeah, after that whole after that Sunday went okay. Oh, the dude with the taser, he was at the event, and one of the other guys that was with us was like trying to sell his gray OG Spellground. So he's like walking around shopping, and the dude's like, hey, what's up, y'all? Blah, blah, blah. And the whole time he's sitting there, I'm like, I'm a teenager, bro. Like even now being almost 32, like I still can't like hide my emotions. So I'm just sitting there like clenched jawed, fist balled, but like, I'm not going to hit this grown man because I'm going to get my shit rocked. You know, like he's not going to ask how old I am before he hits me. He's just going to fucking hit me. So the whole time he's like talking to the guy about the Spellground, and he's like, and I just knew this dude had my cards, or if he didn't sell them already. And he's like, he looks at the dude, he's like sitting there, he folds out the Spellground and he's looking at it, and he's like, what would you do if I just G'd up and walked away with this right now? And the dude just kind of looks at him. I look at him weird, and the other guy that's with us just looks at him weird. And he's like, nah, I couldn't do that to y'all. He's like, y'all were very hospitable. Y'all let us in our hotel room. You let me, you know, like call my girl and da-da-da in your personal space. He's like, I couldn't do that to y'all. And the whole time I'm thinking, you couldn't do it to him right now, but you could do it to me last night, bro. Jesus Christ. Yeah, you couldn't do it to him right now, but you did it to me last night. That's the title of somebody's next tape. Like, oh man. But yeah, so plane doesn't crash. I get on and I get home and we're all good. And then I really don't hear from Adam, thankfully, until like just random little times at locals. But then we see the news release. And I saw like the little, because you know, the morning news, they'll preview what's gonna happen at night. And they're like, local Hammond, Louisiana man arrested for, you know, blah, 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 and sexual extortion and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, shit. And then I get a call later that day, and somebody's like, yeah, Adam got arrested. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I made sure to tune in.
I actually have that news clip video here from the video that I watched. And what led up to that was called like the Magic Cat incident. Do you remember that, Kampa?
Yeah, I remember Catherine. She was really cool. She always used to go to all the Alabama regionals. I still keep in touch with her somewhat on Facebook. Like she's not as active.
So I have the clip where I have the clip here where he changes the G Hopper's Most Wanted to Yugi Hose, and
Yugi Hose.
He goes on and says some other awful stuff. So we'll have that linked in here. Do you want to play it, Mike, or do you want to just like have it like attached, or how do you want to do
Which one was it? The second video?
The first video. The first video first.
Okay, let me find it here. I'll play it into my microphone so you guys can all hear it. Is it the one of it's like him talking?
Yep.
Okay.
Name this segment to G Hopper 85's Yu-Gi-Oh! I disgrace 3,229 of you. I really do. If you're subscribed to this person, you really need to go unsubscribe. This person lies so much that I'm going to call them a compulsive liar. Now, I'm pretty sure when she made this video, she wasn't planning on telling y'all that she was going to become a YouTube whore. Why don't you go to a church and get yourself saved because you have issues.
Adam took exception with how her fans were sending her free boxes of Yu-Gi-Oh cards and accused her of sending...
Cut from there.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
the whole
from
thing,
that, basically... Yeah, go ahead, Kampa, you got it.
The whole thing that I remember was, like, he was so up in arms because I think the people that he like would usually like trade with, like somebody mentioned it to him. So I don't know if it was like dipping into his pockets at all. Or maybe it was just the fact that he couldn't get this girl to like, you know, give him any kind of attention because she had seen him at regionals and stuff, but he can't just really like approach somebody, you know, face to face until he has to kind of like, he would always try to like get people's phone numbers, message them over Facebook. There was a time when he was like going down my Facebook friends list and like seeing like, you know, what females I had on mine. And some of my friends from like high school would be like, hey, do you know this guy? Because he says like we're mutual friends. He says he's a friend of yours. And I'm like, yeah, just don't talk to him. You know, I was like, block him. like I didn't know it was like as bad.
Yeah, this was like the turning point because basically, from my understanding, from what I've looked up about it, was he was mad because she was gaining a lot of traction and getting famous on YouTube, and he was saying that she was selling like, you know, people would send her cards, then she would trade dirty pictures for it, which just made him mad. And then she wouldn't do it for him, I guess, and then he got like furious by it. And to piggyback like off what you were saying was on the documentation here, it says that he hacked into multiple victims' accounts, would message their friends, family, and blackmail victims with explicit photographs that they have. And he was originally arrested for 2 victims, but the police ended up uncovering over 50 different people that were affected by it. And the youngest one was a teenage girl who was 14. For a while, he was a pizza delivery person, and he would go deliver pizza to girls' houses. And then if he saw a girl he liked, he would take down their information and cyberstalk them. Like, you know, they had their name, address, phone number, all that kind of stuff. And then that ended up turning into the second video clip we have here, which is the actual news video of him getting arrested. If you want to play that one.
Yeah. That here.
And I'm Dennis Woltering in for My Cause. We begin with an Eyewitness News exclusive tonight. Hammond police arrest a man they say made contact with women through Facebook, then eventually extorted sex from them.
There's now a Facebook page to warn women. It's called Ban Adam Cole.
Should I keep going?
So, yeah.
Okay.
Through Facebook, then eventually extorted sex from them.
There's now a Facebook page to warn women. It's called Ban Adam Cole. Adam Cole is now in jail, charged with a scheme which police say began on Facebook.
A news report, an arrest.
There you go. So then after that, it was actually eventually tied to over 50 different victims, and then he gets sentenced to, after all this happens at the very end of it, he's sentenced to 10 years. For each count, 7 counts of extortion, felony carnal knowledge of 2 counts. In addition, he was sentenced to 2 years for each account of cyberstalking, which was 9, and 6 months for defamation by hatred, and those are to be served concurrently and will be registered as a sex offender.
Yeah, so if everything would have, you know, played out to where it was not overlapping, he would have been in prison for the rest of his life. But there was some Louisiana law that put it into where they're all served concurrently. Yeah, so he ended up being locked up from, I think it was like November of 2011. They sentenced him sometime like second quarter of 2012, and then he ended up staying in for the 10 years up to when his arrest date was, which was 2021. In like September or October, I believe, was when he ended up getting released. But yeah, I remember everybody calling me being like, "Oh, hey, did you hear that this happened?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's fucking insane." I am still in contact with people who would be at his house, you know, constantly because they all live close to each other. They would all play video games. They would all play Yu-Gi-Oh! And 2 of them I've spoken with. One of them I still speak with almost daily, like just as much as I send like Peacock memes on Facebook every day. Me and this gentleman do the same thing. And he was actually there the day that the police came to pick Adam up. And he's like, yeah, we were just all hanging out and we heard like a really hard knock on the door. So one guy's on the couch. The other guy gets up to go and like, look, he's like, I looked and all I saw was like, you know, a plain clothes person with like a badge around their neck. He said he opened the door. And the guy looked at him and he just motioned for him to scoot out of the way. And when he did, they had at least like 7 or 8 people. I don't know if it was like SWAT level, but there were people with guns drawn, went into the apartment, went into the bedroom, pulled Adam out, arrested him. And yeah, it was crazy. And in that, you know, few days after that, like they were just kind of like, yo, well, what do we do? So they like, they took his keys, they locked his apartment up, whatever. And I guess like, the cops had to do whatever, looking for like, any kind of evidence that was in the apartment, but they didn't really mess with his stuff, to my knowledge and what I have heard. So all of this is hearsay and very, very, very hypothetical / alleged, because I know nothing for fact about this. I was told that Adam spoke with, I'm just going to say someone, and he told that someone that he was going to tell his mom to come and to like grab his trade binders, just his trade binders, not his collection binders, so that way that person could sell the cards for him to pay for his lawyer cost and stuff like that. The dude
puts up on his commissary, and
yeah, because he at that point, I guess he kind of knew he was going to be in there for a while. So the mom didn't know Dick from Donuts about Yu-Gi-Oh! And apparently when that person came to pick up all of the cards or the trade binders,
oh god,
she gave that person every binder, which if I had to estimate, so I know that he doesn't, or probably does now, but when he was arrested, like the Dark World structure deck didn't even get announced yet. So he didn't know what Grapha was. I remember that being a joke. It was like, oh yeah, he doesn't even know what Grapha is. And because like it got announced like 2 weeks after he had gotten arrested. So
because he was locked up when it came out.
Think of September 2011. Think of how many cards were printed for Yu-Gi-Oh! In that time. This man easily had at least a playset of not just every meta card, just every card. Like if it was for some off-kilter, like left field deck and worth money, even if it wasn't, he had a playset of it. This dude's like I still have my personal Yu-Gi-Oh! Collection set up in the same way that he had his, because it was just so like efficient and easy to go through. It's probably one of the like best things I can say about him now was when he was meticulous about his cards. Like he knew exactly where everything was and it was all in order, because he would be like, oh, I want to play this deck. And it was all sleeved in Ultra Pro white sleeves. So he wanted to play test the deck. He didn't even have to bother unsleeving the cards out of the binder and sleeve. He would just pull them all out, start shuffling them up. And he'd be like, oh, I want to try this. Pull out 4 or 5 cards, put other 4 or 5 already sleeved just in there. And that was how like playtesting was just so like seamless and easy whenever we were at his place. But yeah, she gave that person all of the binders, and apparently, from again what I've heard, this person took some of the cards for themselves. This person took some of the cards, and I remember at one of the regionals in Lafayette, Louisiana, right after he had gotten arrested, there was a few of the people there who he was like, harassing and all online, and they did a fundraiser like donation thing where you could enter for a raffle ticket to win. I think it was actually a Super Book of Moon and a Super Bottomless Trap Hole that had been quote unquote anonymously donated to and all the money that they got from that would go to like the local like battered women's shelter. And
That's good.
I think 1 or 2 of the girls who like they were like boyfriends or like friends of the community, or like they would just go there to do like other card games. It was rigged because they both won one of the cards. So it was kind of just like, hey, I know you had to deal with this asshole, but here's $100 piece of cardboard to make up for it, kind of, and we're donating all this money to the shelter. Like, but the fact that it was anonymously donated and they were his, it was just like, okay, we know where those came from,
No, there's no honor among thieves. Is that stealing if you're stealing from a stolen person,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that person had, sold off a bunch of the stuff and kept some for himself, and sold off a bunch of the stuff, sent the money to Adam's mom, just from what I've heard. That is a whole different kind of conversation, but maybe I might hit that person up and get their take on how everything went, because like at this point, this is like 14 years later, like information can just be information. Doesn't mean you have to do something with it,
Yeah,
that's the scariest thing, because he had such a following and a platform. Like it'd be just so, it's kind of really scary to think about, because even back then, like the internet was still like newer, but like the amount of reach that he had to talk to all these people and do all these things, not just on YouTube, just everything in general was like, it's one of the most egregious things that I've ever known about anything that's happened related to Yu-Gi-Oh, like tangentially or like at all. Like it's pretty wild. That's why we want to talk about it, because it's like, even you being a really good judge of character and knowing him, like you didn't have it, like you knew he was like a shitty person, but I don't think you had any inclination that he was the fucking P Diddy of Yugi-Tube.
Yeah,
it's definitely one of the darkest stories I think probably that's came out of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, and then when he ended up getting out, this was a whole other thing. So the only reason that I remember his release date is because it is Lil Wayne's birthday, 9/27. 82, baby dude, Charity Hospital, aka the City Zoo. Please don't copyright us, Lil Wayne. Please don't DMC strike the podcast. I am but a fan. Same. But yeah, that night I get a call from it was actually one of the guys who was left in Chicago with us. He owned a shop that was about 45 minutes away. Shop is no longer open anymore, but he calls me and he's like, "Hey, Adam's out." And I'm like, "What?" Like, he's like, "He just uploaded a video to YouTube." I'm like, "What?" So
wait, what? He uploaded a video like recently?
Yes. So it should still be up there if you look up. I'm actually typing it. It was
I think I told you about this, Boyd.
So
during the snow day stream.
So
I'm so flabbergasted
because Ty made a Ty made a joke about getting scammed or a bad trade or something. Like, oh, was it with G Hopper 85? And that's kind of what sparked this whole ordeal. But
oh my god, I've seen this. I just didn't really know the context of it. But yeah, I've seen this.
And if you look, upload date September 27th, 2021. I am the Rain Man of fucking Rain Man. I don't remember. I am. Look, I got the like the dates and the like quotables tism, bro. Like, I can tell you about Yu-Gi-Oh games that I played in 2009, but you ask me what me and Peacock talked about yesterday, I'm gonna be like, or even 20 minutes ago. Yeah, like I can't remember anything. I remember my timestamps and my dates. I don't know why, but yeah. So I watched this, and it's him doing like some kind of like, little like WWE kind of like promo because he was a big wrestling fan. I've been gone from the YouTube and Yugi-Tube communities for a decade. My family, I want to let everyone know that a new me is here, broken yet humble, dead yet alive, rescued, not incarcerated. I am no longer G-Hopper 85, but G-Hopper revived and alive 85. I missed you all. Feel free to text me. And then he put his phone number. So what I instantly did was saved it under do not answer and blocked it. I've had the same phone number since 2008. So he obviously had mine. Same with all of the other people around that just didn't want anything to do with him. Like I even had to text him, like, and have it like, a screenshot just on record that I told him, like, I don't want any kind of communication with you. I believe my exact words were, "Hey, I do not wish to converse or speak with you." That bridge was burned long before you were incarcerated. Have a good day. Something along those lines. Because, like, bro,
don't lie. You just something to say, "No, fuck you."
no, I tried to do it in a normal tone. Because if I had to show it to anybody, they couldn't be like, "Oh, well, you're antagonizing him." It's like, no, I just kindly, politely told him to fuck off. I'm gonna close this window
with
now
all due respect.
His face is bothering me. I'm gonna close the window. So me and my friend who notified me of him being released, we start going and a bunch of different, like, I'm like Googling my little fingies off, bro, like finding out all the stuff, like why he was released, when he was released, where he got released to, all that, looking it up on all the websites that I can, just so that way we can like avoid it, About 2 weeks later, I see a video pop up on YouTube from an account that doesn't look like a name that I recognize, but it has like tons of views, and it was by Sladra YGO. Now, Sladra YGO rebranded sometime in the last however long, but they used to be known as Asian Eyes White Dragon, which was one of the crazy big YouTubers. And I'm actually going to find the exact title of the video right now so I don't misquote. Let me see. I just type in Sladra Jail.
Do they still upload videos?
I believe. So he's doing Marvel Rivals, and it looks like Diablo.
I haven't heard that name since like 2017. I want to say 2017, 2018.
Yeah, let me see if I search this. But yeah, so Sladra, I guess they pulled the video down. But there's still old videos, like first place YCS side event deck profile, Inzector Sword Hopper. Like this is like totally different stuff. But there was a video saying this man played Yu-Gi-Oh in jail, kind of thing, which apparently he did. I also forgot that when we were talking about the 2011, 2012 part. I just be bouncing, bro. So
it's a lot to take in. It's a lot of info.
I'm not gonna expand on that. So
No
just
Diddy.
a lot to take in. Yeah, bro, no Diddy, you know.
Yeah, he was hopping on the deck in jail.
Yeah, no, take that. Please don't DMC strike us, P. Diddy.
I think he's got more things. I think he's got worse things
Yeah,
to worry about right now.
I think we're very low on his docket.
Yeah.
This year for
His name is
Halloween. For Halloween in prison, Diddy's going to be Count Hitcher from the Bacula.
Jesus.
So he wrote a letter to a few of the local shops, and the shop that we played at was called BSI Comics. And he wrote a letter, and it got sent there. He wrote a letter to the other local, the one where he ripped me off for my magical stone excavation. He sent a letter to the one that he played at all the time, about 30, 45 minutes north of us. The owner did not want it because he kind of knew what happened. So he gave it to our TO, because our TO was the first person mentioned in the letter. Like, oh, I was trying to get in touch with these people, and he started listing off names. The TO said, fuck that. And he gave it to the second listed named person, which was me. And I looked at it, I read it. And honestly, I typed up probably like a 10-page response that I was going to print out and mail to him. And it was really just me like being like, hey, I'm sorry you have to go through this, but I don't really want to talk to you. And you kind of did this yourself. So have fun. In so many words. Also, it was like me just kind of like closing chapters on like ways that he had wronged me in the past. It was a lot about the magical stone excavation. It was a lot about the Nintendo DS. It was a lot about the trips to Chicago and Minneapolis. And then my brother's laptop broke that I had it typed on, and I never saved it, because I didn't have it saved on like my email or anything. So I was like, okay, that's just a sign that I don't have to send that, because, I was going to, something in the universe told me not to. I'm just gonna, trust the spirits on this one, But yeah. So I still have that letter. It's still in one of my boxes in the closet, and every time I'm digging through there looking for something that I haven't seen in 10 to 15 years, I come across it, and I just kind of get a little chill down my spine, and I put it right back. And I don't know why I can't throw it away or burn it, but I'm a keepsake person, even if it's negative keepsakes.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a dragon, like usually like a dragon will sit like on its mountain of gold, like historically, like in fantasy novels. Well, Kampa has that with a closet, and it's just filled with infinite goodies of just relics of Yu-Gi-Oh's history. He's like, I have an SJC shrink sitting here. I found that today. I'm like, who finds a prize card in your closet? It's going through bulk.
I'm sorry. At least it's in a magnet case.
I had a friend that I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh with it. He had a prize card gold sark in his binder that he didn't even realize was the prize card gold sark.
What?
I know. Yeah. Anytime Kampa or Fraser goes through there, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, you're right, boy. You remember who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Brooks Parsons.
Yeah, he had a SJC gold. Government. Yeah, he had an SJC gold sark in his binder, and did not realize till one day that it was an SJC gold sark that he had gotten.
And then he wasn't even that happy about it. He was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, he was just like, "Whatever."
I got my shrink at Upper Deck Day in 2009 when Upper Deck had to shift control of Konami because of all the like fake cards being printed and cards being taken. Yeah, all that stuff. Somewhere in my stuff, I have an ultra rare Destiny Hero Dreadmaster that has like the sideways fake Eye of Anubis stamp that came in like one of the boxes. I think I have a Flute of Summoning Karibo that's the same way. I got to find these things, and I'll send pictures whenever I do.
It's wild. Like I've said a couple times, anytime Fraser or Kampa goes into their closet, they're like, hey, I found this ridiculous, crazy thing from the past. I'm like, I don't have anything in my closet. I've got some clothes and like random documents from like my divorce.
Yeah, that event. that upper deck event.
In the closet.
That upper deck event, I actually played against Adam in that event, and I beat him, and he was kind of like salty about that. And then I played against another like well-known-ish player who was like known for like stalling and just like dragging stuff out. I'm 2009, bro. No. I'm gonna send y'all the feature match of this guy because there was like a written feature match. I think it was, or no, it wasn't a feature match. It was Joe Giorlando's tournament report from Rabbit format in Dallas or Arlington, one of those YCSs, and he played against him. And as soon as I read the tournament report, I knew it was on an ARG article. I knew who he was talking about because this guy sits down. I've known him for at least like 3-4 years at this point. We've play tested, we've eaten together, you know. He sits down, and I used to have my deck box sitting there right on the side. It was open. You could see my extra deck and my side deck, and I'm shuffling up. And he goes, "Give me a second, I'll be right back." And he walks away, and he goes and talks to the head judge. And I'm like, this is weird. And then he comes back to the table, and he's still shuffling up. And he's like, 1 second. And he goes back and asks the head judge another question. And then the head judge kind of watches him when he walks back to the table. And like, I see him just kind of like shake his head. And I'm like, the fuck? So the round starts, 39 minutes, 59 seconds on the clock. Dude throws his hand up and goes, "Judge." And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Judge comes over, floor judge comes over. And he's like, "My opponent did not present his side and extra deck to me verbally before the game. So they should not, yep. So they should not be able to use them during this game. Is that correct?" And I look at him and I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like, bro, I'm 15 years old. I have a borrowed Teledad deck. I'm side decking Crush Card because I'm just that fucking guy. All right." Well, because there was a lot of people who still thought Oppression Gadgets was good, and I was like, I'm not gonna Crush Card a fucking gadget deck. Like, I'm gonna side it for the mirrors, and sometimes I didn't even side it for the mirrors. It was great. It worked. I got second place at that tournament out of like 139 people. Yeah, right. I should have got first, and we'll get there in a second. So the guy's like kind of like fumbling over everything, and then he's like, "Let me go get the head judge." So goes and gets the head judge. Head judge comes back over. Guy tells him what's going on. And the head judge goes, "All right, look, I know both of you. I know that you're both great players. If I have to come over here, or one of my floor judges has to come over here for anything other than an actual ruling dispute, you're both going to be disqualified without prizing." And I'm like, "Thank you. Can we play now?" And when I tell you that I viciously, degradingly 2-0'd this grown man.
Amazing.
Oh my, yeah. It was like, bro, there was this one, I beat him game one super quick. Our game two is like, this is what I was talking about. I can tell you about Yu-Gi-Oh games from 16 years ago, bro, but I don't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday. Drag out long game two, right? It comes down to it. He's got a couple things on the field. He's got like a Snipe Hunter. He's got a Stardust, something, a Snipe Hunter, Colossal Fighter, something else. So I go, I do something, and I go like, set a card, pass. He goes, draws his one card. He pitches an Allure of Darkness, and he goes, "Snipe Hunter, target your back row." I'm like, "Chain Threatening Roar." He's like, "Okay, go." I draw. I was main decking Threatening Roar instead of the Solemn Judgment and the normal things. I was playing 3 Threatening Roar and 3 Reckless Greed in the Teledad with like the Diamond Dudes. No, Teledad with the Diamond Dudes and stuff like that, because it was like the like Diamond Dude Turbo Teledad version, but it wasn't like Reasoning Gate. I still have the list somewhere.
I was saying you did the Threatening 4 like White Swan and stuff was popular back then.
Yeah, because you would just roar to stop him from killing you, flip a Reckless Greed or 2, and then you have like 8 cards in your hand and you just kill him. I draw another Threatening Roar and I set it, and he goes, "Snipe Hunter, discard." Pop the Threatening Roar, and I flip the roar again, and he's like, "What the hell?" He's like, and I go Destiny draw, pitch a card, draw 2, and I draw the 3rd Threatening Roar and like Brain Control, and I'm missing like one piece. Like, all I need is Dark Armed at this point, and I'm like, set one, pass. He draws. He's like, "If that's the 3rd Threatening Roar, I swear to God." And this is when I first like got the like stigma around me, because people thought I stacked for years, and I'm like, bro, if I would have stacked, I would have at least topped an SJC by now, or done something more than like 3 or 4 regional tops. Like, I was good at locals because everybody at locals was like, for lack of a better phrase, dog shit. But like, So he snipe hunter pitches. I chain the threatening roar, and he's like, "God damn!" Like blah blah blah. So I'm just like, "Is it my turn?" He's like, "Yeah, go." So I draw, and I hit the dark arm. So I go brain control, colossal, dark arm, something out, normal summon, something like Armageddon Knight, like send something, fucking malicious plague spreader, and I kill him from 8K. Everybody is watching because we're the last game going on. Everybody's watching. Everybody starts like hooping and hollering, and they're like. I go to shake his hand, and I'm like, good game, and he slaps my hand away. He was like 26, 27 years old, slaps my hand away, bro. And I'm like, whatever, you lost. Scoop my cards up, and I just go. And then, we're going to save that for when I come back.
Yeah, for part 2.
For an actual Edison-based, hopefully.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for the top 4 in the finals game, because there was a whole bunch of stuff there.
That's good. Let's leave them on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, I just have one question for Kampa, real quick, and then I'll shut up.
Of course. Are
you going to Orlando? And please let the answer be yes.
So I got hit up to go to Orlando. I don't believe that I will be at Orlando, just because of how everything's like falling with like, I wouldn't be able to fly. I would have to drive with like some local people, and just driving is going to take too long. I'd have to take off work that Saturday. I got to be back Monday for work, and I'm not really prepared, but I will be in Houston though. So you should go to Houston.
When is Houston?
I want to. I can't make Orlando. I want to make Houston, but it's right around my son's birthday, so we'll have to just play the waiting game.
When
I
is
believe
Houston?
it's April.
Yeah.
Depending on when in April, because my daughter's birthday's in April.
When in April?
Yeah, her birthday is April 22nd.
Oh, you're good. It's in the front of the month. It's the 5th and the 6th. I'll see you there.
Okay, I'll try my best.
Got this. I believe in you. And if you don't believe in you, believe in the me that believes in you.
That's right. Okay, guys. Well, this was certainly a hell of a ride. I really enjoyed this, and as we mentioned previously, we will be having Kampa back as long as he is available next week to just talk about some Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh yeah, always. There's even some more stuff that I didn't get to. I mean, if you want to extend it, we can extend it, because there's some other stuff that I didn't get in about my personal experiences. So we can do it now and make this a 2.5-hour episode, or we can slide back for some part 2 of I don't know what you're gonna title this, but if it's the name of the Facebook group chat.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be it. we will come back for part 2. I think that will be great
for the next episode of Dragon Ball Z.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. This was amazing, and I can't wait until next week. So this is Mike from the Edison Club, Austin from the Edison Club, Ty from the Edison Club, and Philip Kampa, the prospect for the Edison Club, signing out till the next one.
Hamster Ryko Caius, Hamster Ryko Caius. I go check the pairings, I'm like, don't know who this guy is. Hamster Ryko Caius, Hamster Ryko Caius. 2-0 every round, man, and I ain't even trying. It's just Hamster Ryko Caius, Hamster Ryko Caius, Hamster Ryko Caius,